Got a fascinating case of a female with a nervous breakdown. Let's take a look at it. I had a patient come in who was a 51-year-old female. She told me that on New Year's Eve, she thought she was having a heart attack or a stroke and with massive anxiety. She had to be taken home from the event. Over the next 4 days, she lost 7 pounds. Her hands and feet were extremely cold. Bedridden for a week. Was told she was having a nervous breakdown. Now she experiences head throbbing, slight feeling of motion sickness. It takes a second or so for her eyes to catch up to as her head turns. All this started in the summer before when she was transitioning from being a mother of an only child to that child starting to become independent and driving on her own, and she felt like she had nothing left to do and that she had lost her purpose. She even said she felt lost. In the past, she had had a history of ocular migraines, and then I put it all in caps here. I lived off chocolate in college and have eaten it daily since. Well, you'll understand why I put it in caps here in a second. That's a major hormone disruptor. Then the very next line, I ask her, well, how are your hormones? Well, they're very irregular. And I was thinking, no kidding. She also gets seasonal allergies. And her bowel movements have always been very inconsistent. She can go a month without a bowel movement. Just in case some of you think that's normal, that's not normal. You don't want to go a month without a bowel movement. Every day, that's what we want, every day. So for the last 5 years, she's had bad sinus infections and bronchitis issues that have required a lot of antibiotics. So what did her test in the office look like? It looked like this. So again, fight or flight system, very tired, very worn out. That means it's been working very hard for many, many years. Immune system was off, digestion, small intestine is off. Blood sugar's off. Kidneys are sky high, meaning her electrolytes most likely are very out of balance and she needs to drink more water. Gallbladder, not happy. That means we have a fat metabolism issue. And here, stomach didn't lie, but actually showed up as a problem. And we're going to address that in just a moment. She ended up needing the basics. So when you're exhausted, worn out, nothing's working right, we need to fill the nutritional buckets that are empty. She went on my powder. I had her start with a half a scoop. I wasn't sure she was going to be able to handle the potency of all the nutrients that I put in there. So instead of 1 full scoop, I gave her half a scoop. And then I told her, this was interesting. I don't do this with many people. But with her, I said, take 2 sips more of the powder later in the evening. In other words, I wanted her body to get some of the nutrients in the morning, and I wanted her to continue to get some in the evening. Just that signaling of brain to body with the right nutrients, it's sending a message. It's sending the message that, hey, we're coming out of fight or flight. We're transitioning into a calmer state of being. I can't put it all in there all at once, so we did it gently. She needed vitamin D to help support her immune system. I also had her take an additional electrolyte drink every day because of how high that kidney marker was right there. She needed to start my gentle GI diet and get off of her chocolate. So much more protein, cooked vegetables, some carbs. It's important to have some carbs when you're transitioning from a state of exhaustion and extreme fight or flight. You need some carbs, and let me tell you why. The fight or flight system runs on glucose. The brain runs on glucose. The brain is using the fight or flight system to extract glucose resources so that it can take care of itself. Your nervous system has to function. The brain is the head of your entire nervous system. So in the beginning, I don't exclude carbs from people. I have them have whatever carbs they can ingest without it creating some sort of gut problem or inflammatory reaction. So if they can have wheat, I let them have wheat. A lot of people can't have wheat, but in her case, she could have some wheat. Potatoes, rice, maybe some gluten-free oats, something in the carbohydrate realm that will supply that glucose so that the blood sugar system doesn't crash, because if it does crash, you will spike fight or flight. So that is why if somebody has hypoglycemia, they get shaky, lightheaded, moody if they miss a meal. They need to supply some food. Otherwise, they're trapping themselves in fight or flight and creating a whole lot of other problems. So back to our sheet. She needed Stomach Plus, which is an acid product that's my hydrochloric acid that I sell. Wild yam cream she was already taking, but I also put her on another hormonal cream. So the hormonal system has a lot of its resources stolen when fight or flight is working too hard, so we often need to support it. How did she progress? So her first visit was in the middle of February. Next visit, that's a gigantic improvement. This is only 3 weeks later. So she went from all this energy, high and low, scattered about, to much more even, many more greens, no purples at all, which is actually quite astounding, and a much improved score. I don't know if you can see the score on this, but she went from a 28 score to a 68 score. We want to get up near an 80, so that's a giant jump. Great. How did it turn out on her notes? What did she say subjectively about her experience? So 3 weeks later, she said, I'm feeling much better overall, except for flare-ups of head pressure. Headaches slowly improving. She was also doing exercises from a vestibular therapist. Her hormones, her wild yam cream for the last 2 months. We'd already mentioned that earlier, so she was continuing with that. So feeling much better. By her third visit, which is only 6 weeks later, she reported that she was 95% better overall and that she was having daily bowel movements. So we went from once a month to daily bowel movements just with the things I teach you in my 50 Fix guidebook, with my product, Core 4, and with many of the other recommendations that I supply in the book as well. But simple, straightforward approach. Bring your body back online, calm down the fight or flight response. It helps over 50 conditions, which is why my book is called 50 Fix.